Hi, my name is Bartram. I'm Director of Product Marketing for our cloud providers in Broadcom, and today I'm joined by Michael from Team Blue. Welcome, Michael. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a bit about, firstly, who you are, and then who Team Blue is, and what Team Blue is.
Yeah, so my name is Michael. I work as Director of Innovation Integration in Team Blue. We're a European-based service provider operating in, let's say, most of Europe by now.
Okay.
And we deliver anything from like web hotels, serving the small to medium businesses and startups, all the way up to private cloud, serving your average enterprise, right? So it's quite a span that we operate in.
Okay, and where does VMware exist in the portfolio?
So VMware has existed for like most of 10 years or more within the portfolio. It's been running our internal clouds, which is the web hosting stuff, the SQL stuff, all that stuff that serves our main business, so to speak. But in certain regions, it's also been a product that we've delivered for enterprise to like give private clouds and similar services out to these businesses where they didn't have the means or the skills, or they had a strategic decision to go with an external vendor for their hosting.
Okay.
So it's basically all the way from your web hotels to your enterprise hosting.
Okay.
And it serves as the foundation for all of it.
All right, and you mentioned some regions. Tell me, where does Team Blue operate?
Oh, so
where doesn't it operate?
Yeah, that's probably the easier way of saying it. Now, if we focus on the major regions, right? Most of the Nordics, so we're in Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark. We have UK, Ireland, Spain, Portugal, a bit of France, a bit of Germany, Belgium, pretty much the entire Benelux region, right?
Okay.
Italy, Turkey, Bulgaria. That's what I can remember off the top of my head. Right?
And some added extras.
Yes,
well.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
And what type of customers do you see? You mentioned web hosting, so that's very small, kind of SME perhaps, all the way up to large enterprises. But is there any vertical specialization you guys provide?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really, to be honest. So we focus really much on the bare, when it comes to private cloud at least, right? We focus very much on the bare basics, right? So that's your pure infrastructure as a service. We're not trying to go out there to replace an IT department. We're trying to offload them, right? So that they don't have to focus on what we call the basics, which your compute storage networking, exactly. Yeah. Right, so we don't really have any verticals. We operate.
Everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and we try to be as generic as possible to foster that.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And so companies can come to you who perhaps they have VMware estates today, perhaps they don't, but essentially you can run their infrastructure for them.
Yeah.
In your data centers. And deliver kind of a managed service for that infrastructure, keeping it up and running, keep the lights on, keep it updated, et cetera, compliance reporting.
All that stuff.
Okay, cool. And that then enables them to focus more on their business.
Exactly. It's all about doing what you're best at, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much the good old saying from Jeff Bezos, right? Focus on what makes the beer taste better, right? So if the core of the business isn't hosting, why are you spending time and energy on it, right?
Yeah.
Use us for that.
So you're effectively taking over their technical debt with new infrastructure platforms, so they can free up their resources to focus on what they should be focusing on their business.
Exactly. Focus on delivering services to their end customers rather than focusing on updating a storage array at 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So VCF-based private cloud, how's that coming along?
So we traditionally haven't really used VCF due to it not being a product that was pitched to service providers by the former owners of VMware, right?
Yeah.
Right now we're waiting for VCF 9.0 to come out, at which point the plan is to bring on our internal clouds onto that platform.
Okay.
Learn the product, see how it fits into how we sell the product today to our customers, and then productize it, start pitching it and selling it as the primary to our new customers, and then begin the transition of the hundreds of private clouds we have today to the VCF 9 stack.
Okay.
So that'll be run over the course of 9, 9.1, and whatever the subsequent releases will be, right? So that'll be a multi-year transition, I expect.
So customers are going to be able to actually realize the latest VCF version on your platform.
That is the plan, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And tell me about the support process. I mean, one of the key differentiators I always find is customers that are used to dealing with hyperscaler went cloud first typically had a very poor support experience. they don't know their estates. They're just there as kind of vanilla support people.
Yeah.
How does that work in TeamBlue?
So we've seen the same as you described there, right? So we know that the differentiation layer for us isn't what type of CPU that we run or what type of storage array that we run. It's the connection between us and the customer. So we recognize that at a very, very early time, and more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So we have a dedicated department just to serve our top X 100 customers. So usually when the customers call in, we know who they are. They're usually speaking with the same 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
This department is now like in the 20s of people, right? And they're focusing exclusively on our shared cloud and private cloud customers, right?
Okay.
So we know that relationship is very important. We know that we need to pick up the phone in below 1 minute, and they expect us to know who they are before they even said the first word, right?
Yeah. So you
right.
know.
So we're very close close to the customers, right? And
that's really nice for a customer. That's a core differentiation. I always think getting that.
Ultimately, customer relationship, right? That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you're selling to people, right? You're not really selling the technical stuff anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So if you were to kind of sum up TeamBlue's unique value proposition for potential customers that are watching, how would you kind of sum it up?
I'm not a sales guy, right? So that's
that's why I'm asking you.
I'm usually behind the scenes. What we usually focus on is ease of consumption, right? And focusing on performance first, fixing all these things for you that you shouldn't really think about. Then it's all the abstracting away all the noise, like for instance licensing models, etc., just making all that go away and repackaging into a model that scales really well. That's easy to understand for customers, right? Yeah. So not focusing on are we going to buy another host or not, but basically saying if you deploy more workload, we'll make sure that the cluster is there to handle it, and we'll scale that, we'll scale up, we'll scale it down, etc. So just I'd say ease of consumption and performance first mindset, right?
Yeah, that's nice.
That's the main thing I'm focusing on from a technical perspective.
Yeah, so customers don't have, they're not necessarily concerned that they need a new host.
No.
It'll be like, we can perhaps fit that one in this existing cluster.
We sell N+X, right? So customer define an N+X level, and they define a certain host type, and then we just add host whenever needed and remove host whenever needed, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's all handled automatically behind the scenes, right?
Nice, that's pretty quick provisioning.
Yeah. So we are set up hundreds and hundreds of servers every year, right? So we have these things just quote unquote lying around, right? So, and automating and provisioning, that's all automated. So it's something that is just done.
Rack and stack and point and click and you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay,
exactly.
Cool. Just on another note, sustainability. So you mentioned you have lots of data centers.
Oh yeah.
What's the sustainability viewpoint that you guys have?
So the end goal is to have everything on green power, and I think we're like 90+% of the way there. Everything in Denmark is, for instance, green power. Everything in Norway, Finland, Sweden is green power, etc. Most of Europe is on green power. We have certain regions where the energy markets are perhaps not as mature, and we're still focusing very much on fixing those things, and ultimately changing data centers to fix that issue, right? So being green, being sustainable is a core tenet of our values within TeamBlue, right?
Yeah. So that's fantastic. So customers can also look at kind of propelling their carbon strategy forward, carbon neutral strategy forward by moving to a TeamBlue data center.
Exactly. Yeah. So we do reporting based on a per cluster and per workload entity of how much power has this workload consumed for the last month, right? What's your CO2 footprint, all of that stuff. We have customers mandating PUE efficiencies for data centers, right?
Yeah, of course.
So all of these things, that's taken care of.
It's de facto standard.
Yeah, I don't work in compliance, right? So I can't tell you all the details, but we do have people that can.
You've got the reporting in place. That's
most important thing.
Yeah, just while we're on that, compliance is kind of a big deal now very much for verticals as well. So do you help customers achieve their compliance with the infrastructure you're providing? Do you provide them compliance reporting?
So we have all the basics like ISE 3402, 27001, etc. All these things, they're at the foundation, and then we have a compliance and legal team that can help out customers doing more customized reporting and compliance things, right?
Over and above specialized compliance stuff.
Yeah, exactly, right. So again, I don't work in those space, but every time I get an email or a request for it, I usually forward it to that team. Yeah. And so far, I haven't really heard anything negative back, right? So I assume we'll fix that problem.
You don't hear anything, it's always good to not hear anything.
Yeah, exactly. No news is good news.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, brilliant. Well, Michael, thank you very much for taking the time today to speak to us. Just on a final note, if customers want to find out more about Team Blue, where do they go to?
Yeah, so Team Blue as a whole, right? Go to our website, it's team.blue. It's fairly generic, and on the website you will see all the links to the local brands that we have in Europe. So thanks for having me, man.
Thank you very much for coming.
Cool.